Welcome back to Afternoon Express. Now, according to statistics, the majority of violence occurring in schools takes place in the classroom. Now, this violence often occurs when educators are unable to manage and control their class or when the class is left without supervision. Classroom violence poses a significant barrier to learning. Welcome to Afternoon Express.
Thank you very much.
Tell us exactly, you're from SADTU. What exactly is SADTU? What does it do? And what does it stand for?
SADTU is the South African Democratic Teachers Union, formed in 1990. We are a trade union that represents teachers, but we have a broader scope to look at the overall transformation of education within South Africa.
Amazing. I think it's so important to understand what the rights are of teachers, what the roles and obligations are of students. So let's start off with any relevant cases where perhaps a teacher was harmed by a student in the classroom. What happened and what was the outcome?
Let me relate to, there are many to share, but there's one specific one that took place on the Cape Flats. The educator was in the classroom. A colleague came to his door to ask him for some information. Turned around, his lunch was stolen by the learners. He came into the classroom and inquired what happened to his lunch and offered to share the sandwich with whoever had taken the lunch. One of the learners got up and started to verbally abuse the educator. The other learners then said that he was the culprit who took the lunch. The teacher asked him to stand at the door to wait for him so he could speak to him. When he got outside, the learner assaulted him with a fist. He then had a scuffle with the learner outside, trying to constrain him. The teacher next door came out of the classroom, big commotion. The learner ran home. What the learner then did was to come with a group of friends who belonged to a gang. The principal was then compelled to lock the teacher up in the safe at the school while he called the police. The parents of the learner then mobilized the community to assault the teacher. The police had to escort the educator from the premises. He was away from school for about a month and returned. He was traveling by public transport. When he got off the bus in the area, the community spotted him and chased him where a passerby motorist had to pick him up and take him to the nearest police station. In this incident, when the learner came back to the school, they assaulted him with a pipe, with a cricket bat, and he sustained a number of injuries. That educator is away from school for the past 3 years, can't return back to the community. That's one of the...
And he didn't do anything wrong?
He did nothing wrong. That's the type of violence we have in our institutions.
But why is that happening?
I think that there is a level of intolerance within our communities, and that spills over from the community to the school. I think young people do not know how to handle conflict well. I think that there's a great need for us to learn them social skills so that it translates in respect, peace and tolerance within the school setup. And we are lacking in that regard.
I just feel so sorry for teachers because I think it's such a thankless job. They don't get paid super well to be there. And I mean, their jobs are to inspire, to educate. It should be such a loving relationship. And yet we're seeing the opposite. Whose role is it to protect these teachers? I mean, children firstly aren't allowed to be disciplined at home. And now they're not allowed to be disciplined at school. I mean, what are teachers supposed to do to control these classrooms?
Well, I think that teachers need to have some intensive training so that we can actually take back the profession to ensure that we have values driven within our schools, values driven in our classrooms, and it needs to translate into the home and the community as well. From a legal point of view, you need to have the employer. Any employer must ensure that its employees are safe in their workplace. And that is guaranteed in terms of the constitution of the country, as well as the Occupational Health and Safety Act.
But that's not really happening, like what we're seeing now with this teacher, that, I mean, he couldn't go to work for so many months and years because he was under such threat. How is he being protected?
I think that sometimes our employers are acting very shabby in this regard. What we should do is to have interventions in the community, had the community liaison officer speak to this, the community to say that you need to hear the other side of the story. In this case, this boy was absolutely wrong to assault a teacher. Of course, if you spread a story outside to say that the teacher is the one who had transgressed, you then sweep up the community to take that particular stance and posture in this regard. But important is also, and schools must build a bridge between themselves and the community. The parents and the neighbors, and everybody must believe that the school belongs to them. Take ownership of the school so that you make sure that the school where your learners are attending are safe havens for everybody.
Absolutely. And there really does need to be that respect for the institution, respect for those schools, because it's only then that you're actually going to successfully be educated. Thank you so much for sharing your stories with us today.
Thank you.